Where's Chris Wray been? He's been FBI director for 2.5 years. We want the documents. We want that 302 that was changed. And we want to talk to the agents who were there when they interviewed Mike Flynn and why they changed that 302. So give us the documents. Let us talk to Mr. Pienka, the guy who was in the room with Peter Strzok when they interviewed Mike Flynn. That's what we want to see.
There you go. Some Republicans are demanding some answers from the FBI. Let's bring in Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst and host of Liberty Files on Fox Nation. There he is right there. Judge, good morning to you. We just heard a new name that a lot of people are not familiar with, Joe Pienka. Good morning to you. We heard about Bill Priestap. He's the guy who we heard of at the conclusion of last week. It was his handwritten notes that talked about, what do we want to get Mike Flynn to do? Do we want to get him to lie or what? Sounds like the FBI's got a lot of explaining to do.
Well, it sure does. The name that is not familiar to us as of today, but soon will be, Joe Pienka, was one of the FBI agents who visited General Flynn in his West Wing office on January 24, 2017, just 4 days into Donald Trump's presidency, and who concluded at the end of his interview with General Flynn, and remember, Agent Pienka had already seen a transcript of the conversation between General Flynn and Ambassador Kislyak, which was the subject of the interview. Agent Pienka concluded that General Flynn had been truthful and that the investigation of General Flynn should be terminated at that point. At that point, it gets very political. And that's where we saw the notes from not Agent Pienka, but the high-ranking Pienka, number 3 in the FBI at the time. I may be mispronouncing his last name, the one whose notes you summarized. So, are the Republicans right to demand an investigation of this? In my view, absolutely. I hope this goes to the Senate Judiciary Committee, because the Republicans are not going to get the first base in the House. But this is raw meat for Senator Lindsey Graham, who's very concerned, I know, with FBI abuses. Now, federal law prohibits the FBI from revealing documents in a criminal case that's still active, and General Flynn's case is still active. So, as I suggested last week, the best thing to happen for justice and for General Flynn is for him to be exonerated, meaning the Justice Department should renounce and denounce what its own FBI agents did. The Justice Department should ask Judge Sullivan, who's presiding in the General Flynn case, to vacate the general's guilty plea and dismiss the indictment. And all these materials should be made available either to the Senate Judiciary Committee or to whatever members of Congress are able to get them.
So Judge, as you're running through everything, you did not mention Christopher Wray, who is now the new FBI chief, Jim Jordan, others, the president behind closed doors, very frustrated. He's been very lax. Yes. He has not been aggressive. He seems to be more siding towards the Comey crew than the person who appointed him. What is holding him back?
I believe that Chris Wray, I have nothing against him personally. He's an intelligent, experienced lawyer in the DOJ and in the private sector, is part of the culture in the FBI, which has existed for generations, Brian, which believes that they can target political enemies and make out a crime against them. And if the FBI is to have new leadership, and that's the president's choice, I don't know that he wants to do it now, 6 months before an election. I understand the drumbeat against Director Wray, and I share many of the views of those who are calling for his resignation. But the problem is the culture in the FBI, the idea that FBI agents have that they can get away with so much. They have never had to have their records open to the public scrutiny, the likes of which Jim Jordan and hopefully Senator Graham will eventually put them to. What happens to Wray is really up to the president. I think he's going to wait until after November.
Keep in mind, none of this would have even come to light if Hillary Clinton had won. President Trump, according to Axios, says that he's not happy with Wray, or they're hearing that he's not, and that he would like to replace him, but unlikely, as you said, to replace him before the election. In the meantime, he'll just defer to Barr. So we'll continue to follow that. Sidney Powell, who is the lawyer for Michael Flynn, she retweeted a tweet that said, "Fire Wray." Many people are saying that, but we'll have to see. Thanks so much, Judge.
All the best, guys.